Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Gopi Chanavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Chanavallabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Brajajantara Jashodanandana Brajajantara Yamuna Tirankanachari Yamuna Tirankanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Gopi Chanavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Chanavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajandara Dhyana Yashodanandana Brajajandara Dhyana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hi, Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'll be reading today and sharing about the birth of Lord Krishna. Of course, Janmashtami is upon us, so we can begin to meditate upon the appearance of the Lord and really to welcome the beautiful impact of this Leela, which of course has such far-reaching significance in our life every single moment. So we'll read one verse from Bhagavad Gita, which really is emblematic of the significance of the birth, the appearance, pastime of Lord Krishna. We'll read this verse and then we'll begin to share from Krishna book and also just some reflections on what is shared. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vitti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. Translation. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So we'll offer our Mangalacharan prayers, seeking the blessings and guidance of our acharyas, our parampara. Om Ganatimirandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyarishtari. So once again, thank you all so much for joining this evening, and thank you again to Simheshwar Prabhu for the opportunity to meet with everybody, to share this very exalted subject matter. And since it is such an exalted subject matter, my only hope in sharing something meaningful and positive for everyone is to seek all of your blessings, that we can have a meaningful discussion and that we can speak in a way that is pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, to our spiritual master, to our acharyas, and in such a way that we can also all take something inspiring from this dialogue. So seeking your blessings, dear devotees. Okay, so we'll begin. I'll be reading some passages here and there from what Srila Prabhupada writes in this chapter, chapter 3 of Krishna book, entitled The Birth of Lord Krishna. I'll be sharing certain passages with some additional thoughts and reflection. So Srila Prabhupada writes, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his appearance, birth, and activities are all transcendental, and that one who understands them factually becomes immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. So this is reflecting this verse, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 9, which we just chanted, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, that if we are able to understand and know specifically the transcendental quality of Krishna's appearance and activities in this world, then we are assured by Krishna that we will not take birth again in this material world. So what does it mean? What does it mean to understand, right? So we may say, okay, I'm hearing the pastimes of Krishna's birth. It's very beautiful. But what does it mean to understand them factually, as Srila Prabhupada writes here? So as Krishna says in this verse, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, we understand that this is not an ordinary birth. Krishna enters the womb of Devaki, but he does this according to his sweet will, according to his transcendental nature and desire to fulfill the desires of his devotees. So not that Krishna needs necessarily to appear in a womb in order to be born in this way. Krishna's form is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, completely transcendental and made of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. It's the form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So understanding the nature of Krishna's appearance and activities is something that requires some mercy. It requires quite a bit of mercy, hearing from those devotees who actually have understood this and who can guide us in the proper perspective of understanding these pastimes, which are quite mystical in their own way. That Krishna is appearing, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet he's appearing in the womb of Devaki, and then from the womb of Devaki, after he appears, he's transferred very quickly to the home of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, right? How can we understand this? It's quite unique. And also then, upon being in the home of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Krishna has so many unique pastimes where he's allowing himself to be chastised and chased and punished by Mother Yashoda. How do we understand this? He's Bhagavan. He's the possessor of 6 opulences. But at the same time, he chooses to be fully absorbed, not only like some play that the whole time he's thinking, oh, I'm the Supreme Lord. He actually allows himself to be fully absorbed in these pastimes, in these loving exchanges. So these are a few points that are essential for our gradual understanding of these pastimes. So Srila Prabhupada writes, the Lord's appearance or birth is not like that of an ordinary man who is forced to accept a material body according to his past deeds. The Lord's appearance is explained in the 2nd chapter. He appears out of his own sweet pleasure, right? So as we just discussed, Krishna has a spiritual body. He is not appearing in an ordinary way. And he also has his own unique, we hear of the internal and external reasons. We hear this when we hear about Krishna appearing in his very special form in Kali Yuga of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he has internal and external reasons. So in the same way, Krishna appearing in Vrindavan, and Krishna appearing in, well, initially Mathura in the jail cell of Vasudeva and Devaki, he has his own reasons for this as well. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he appears to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants. And of course that he descends himself when there is a predominant rise in irreligion and a descent in religious principles, a decline in religious principles. So at that time he descends himself, millennia after millennium. So he gives his reason. So we can say on some level that these are some external reasons. They have to do with how he wishes to help and save and uplift the universe. He's appearing to give mercy in this way. As one internal reason, we can understand that, as Prabhupada writes here, he appears out of his own sweet pleasure. On some level, there doesn't need to be some other external purpose. For his own pleasure, for his own enjoyment and happiness, he's appearing. And the nature of this happiness is that Krishna loves to engage in loving exchanges and pastimes with his devotees. He appears among the residents of Vrindavan to enjoy pastimes and exchanges with them, and in such a sweet way that by his Yogamaya feature, which we'll speak about more, Krishna has this very special Yogamaya, his internal potency, his Antaranga Shakti. And then by this special internal potency, this aspect of his internal potency, he places the residents of Vrindavan into a sort of spiritual bewilderment, where most of the time, they're not thinking about Krishna as being Bhagavan, as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because if they're constantly feeling that way, this mood of awe and reverence, this mood of Aishwarya enters in, and that will change their whole way of relating to him. So Krishna has this Yogamaya potency, and he allows that potency to act on the residents of Vrindavan so that they're just in love with Krishna, not because he's God, but because he's Krishna, because he's their beloved Krishna. So in the same way, Krishna also allows himself to come under this yoga maya potency, because this is an internal potency. Krishna, we understand, never ever comes under any material potency at all. He's always free of any material qualities. But because yoga maya is completely spiritual, it's one of his purely spiritual internal potencies, he allows himself also to forget. In his pastimes, we can say he allows himself to forget his godhood in a certain way, so that he can also be fully absorbed. So when Mother Yashoda is running after him with the whipping stick and appearing to chastise and punish him, his tears are real. His fear is real, because this is part of his willingness as Bhagavan, as the Supreme, to be absorbed in loving exchanges with his devotees. So we're hearing today about the very special pastime of Krishna's appearance in this world. And of course, we're coming upon Janmashtami, just a few days. So it's wonderful that we're able to kind of in a preliminary way start to really meditate on this appearance. So Prabhupada writes, at that time, meaning when Krishna is about to appear in this world, at that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. So in Krishna book, it's explained how all different aspects of creation are in a state of harmony and plenty and happiness and prosperity, peace, well-being. So for example, the rivers are flowing in a very peaceful, beautiful way. The water's running very plentifully. All of the birds are singing. And then, on the higher realms, the demigods are showering flowers. The weather is beautiful. The cows are giving milk, right? So in all of these different ways, we understand that all of creation is basically reciprocating with this appearance of Krishna. So at the time, this is unimaginably auspicious. We can't even imagine, right, how auspicious this moment is. So all of nature and existence is reciprocating in this moment. So everyone's experiencing this deep sense of well-being, peace, prosperity, joy. So we can understand from this that Krishna is the benefactor of all living entities. He has the best interest of all living entities at heart, and his appearance automatically sets everyone in the most auspicious circumstance imaginable. So we can think about this in a practical way, that what does it mean for Krishna to appear in the day-to-day? Of course, Janmashtami, we understand, we're celebrating his appearance in this world. But also Krishna appears time and again in our hearts, in our minds. So Krishna, as explained, is already residing in our hearts. He's already in our hearts as Paramatma. But sometimes we don't witness, we don't see his appearance. We're not conscious of his appearance. So when we allow for the appearance of Krishna within our hearts, he's always there. But when we allow ourselves to witness this appearance by hearing and chanting about him, as we're doing in a gathering like this, or in kirtan, or in our personal worship, our personal reading, we're allowing for the appearance of Krishna each day within our heart and minds. And we naturally then, the more we learn about him, just as when we learn about somebody, the more we learn about them, the more we come to appreciate them, the more close we start to feel to them. And we want to reciprocate. So we naturally wish to reciprocate with Krishna more and more when we witness this appearance of Krishna through hearing and chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So then we experience also, just as all of the animals, all of the birds, all of existence was feeling happiness and peace and joy in that moment, we can also taste that happiness and peace and joy the more we are allowing for ourselves to witness this appearance of Krishna. Then we start to experience that sense of well-being on the deepest level, on the level of heart and soul. So Krishna's pastimes, even if we're going through difficult times, we don't deny, right? We're not going to say that, as soon as we hear about Krishna's pastimes, then everything is perfect in our life. On some level, you can say that. You can say that remembrance of Krishna is the ultimate goal. Srila Prabhupada, mentions that all of the other rules and regulations, they correspond with this larger principle of always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada himself, in the Jaladutta, wrote so many beautiful prayers when he was traveling on the freight ship to come to the United States and save all of us. He wrote many beautiful prayers. So we celebrate those prayers, and he said, ask Krishna to make me dance as you like. So another prayer that Srila Prabhupada writes, he says, Krishna, never let me forget to chant your holy names, even if you send me to hell. He writes this, he says, even if you send me to hell, just allow me to always remember to chant your holy name. So this is the attitude of a pure Vaishnava, a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada gives this example. So in other words, to remember Krishna, we can actually say that everything is okay, right? Even if things are externally not okay. If we can remain in that space of remembering Krishna, then on the deepest level, we are okay. We're safe. We're blessed. But it's not that we deny that, some difficulties may still come, materially speaking. But if we're able to remember Krishna, we can feel this deep sense of joy, this deep sense of connection on the level of the soul. Krishna's pastimes attract our hearts on the deepest level because they speak to the eternal nature of the soul. We understand, the more we understand about Krishna, the more we also understand about ourselves, because we are eternally connected to Krishna, and we are eternally, our ultimate dharma, our sanatan dharma, right, is the eternal function of the soul, that we are striving to serve Krishna and his devotees. So Krishna's pastimes really knock on the door of our deepest self, our self as Atma, as part and parcel of Krishna, eternally connected to him. So Krishna performs these pastimes. Another reason why Krishna performs his pastimes, Srila Prabhupada explains, is to actually enchant the minds and hearts of the devotees. Krishna wants us to be attracted to him. And Krishna, of course, is the all-attractive. He's automatically attractive. He doesn't have to try, but for our benefit, he performs so many beautiful pastimes that we can remember, that we allow us to connect with him and to be enchanted by his beauty. The more we hear them, we open our ears, open our minds, open our hearts, open our eyes, then in this way we can become attracted more and more. So going back to the narration of Krishna's appearance in this world, Vasudeva beholds Krishna, and he sees him appearing with all auspicious signs, all of the signs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he also appears in a beautiful four-handed form with ornaments immediately from the womb. He's wearing all of these beautiful ornaments, golden crowns and jewels, and the mark of Srivatsa on his chest. And he has all of these auspicious signs immediately, full head of hair, beautiful hair. One of Krishna's names is Keshava, who has long, beautiful, dark, curling hair. So he appears in this way. And though imprisoned, and Vasudeva is imprisoned, is in a very fearful situation, he feels a complete relief from his fear, and he experiences a deep gratitude and joy on the deepest level. And within his mind, he starts to make offerings. He can't do it in the prison. Physically, he can't do it. But he starts to, out of gratitude, make offerings to the Brahmanas. He starts to, in his mind, donate thousands of cows to the Brahmanas, and he offers prayers to Krishna. So another example of how when Krishna appears, all is well, even in a fearful or negative situation externally. Krishna's presence makes everything auspicious and beautiful. So we'll go ahead and read another passage here. Srila Prabhupada writes, when Vasudeva was convinced that the newborn child was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he bowed down with folded hands and began to offer him prayers. At that time, Vasudeva was in the transcendental position, and he became completely free from all fear of Kamsa. The newborn baby was also flashing his effulgence within the room in which he appeared. So Vasudeva, he's offering everything he can. He's offering his heart. He's offering his intention. He's offering his prayers. And therefore, Krishna is reciprocating with him and freeing him from all of the fear, all of the negativity of the situation that he's in. So our consciousness and intention, they mean so much to Krishna. In this world, our consciousness and intention, they do matter. But sometimes people are looking for what's happening externally. Krishna is always looking for what's happening internally as well. That's why Krishna has this name, Bhavagrahi Janardhan, one who reciprocates with and understands and accepts the intentions, the bhava of the devotee. So Krishna is reciprocating with the wonderful mood of Vasudeva in this moment. So Vasudeva begins to offer beautiful prayers to Krishna. So we'll go through some of these prayers and share a little bit about the significance of them. So Vasudeva prays, "My dear Lord, I can understand who you are. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul of all living entities, and the absolute truth. You have appeared in your own eternal form, which is directly perceived by us. I understand that because I am afraid of Kamsa, you have appeared just to deliver me from that fear. You do not belong to this material world. You are the same person who brings about the cosmic manifestation simply by glancing over material nature." So Krishna is the one who's responsible for the cosmic manifestation just by his glance. And some may challenge, some may say, how is it that Krishna, who is in charge of the entire cosmos, how did he appear just like an ordinary living being from a womb and in a particular place to a particular family? Prabhupada addresses this in Krishna book. He says that some foolish persons may have a challenge like this. So the response to this is that Krishna appears in the womb of Devaki, though he is simultaneously all pervading. It's not that he's just in the womb of Devaki. He's in the womb of Devaki, but he's also everywhere. That doesn't change. And he enters the womb in just the same way that he enters the individual universes. So Krishna, as Mahavishnu, is reclining in his transcendental slumber. And as he exhales, as he's breathing very deeply as he sleeps, and as he exhales, countless universes are being generated. And as he inhales, countless universes are going back into his body and being annihilated. So, as he's producing these countless universes, he also agrees to enter into each of them. So in the same way, Krishna is everywhere. He's all pervading, but he agrees by his own will to enter into the womb of Devaki. But at no moment is he subjected to any kind of material energy. He's completely transcendental at every moment. So he's never subjected to that material energy. That's one of his shaktis. The material energy is also just one of his many potencies and energies. And it's considered actually to be his inferior energy. It's described as Bahiranga Shakti, his external material potency. So this energy is completely under the control of Krishna. He's never controlled by it. This energy is serving Krishna. So another example in our tradition and many spiritual traditions, we do see this symbol of the lotus. The lotus is very significant. And we hear often, we say Krishna's lotus feet, right? So what does that mean? Some of our acharyas, they explain that just like a lotus, it floats upon the surface of the water. It has these wonderful waxy leaves and petals that if the water gets on the lotus, the water immediately drips off very quickly. And the lotus floats upon the surface of the water. So in the same way, we can say that Krishna appears in this world, but he's not affected by this world at all. He's simply floating, you can say, not literally floating, but he's above the material modes of nature in every imaginable way. So that's why we hear Krishna's lotus feet, and they're also beautiful, like a lotus. So these are some of the reasons why we hear phrases like this, Krishna's lotus feet. So Vasudeva shares his concerns to Krishna. So even though he's relieved from his fear, it's still on his heart and mind, the practical reality. So he shares with Krishna. He says that Kamsa will soon come, and he will try to kill you, just as he's done to all of your previous siblings. He will try to come and kill you in a very short period of time. So Vasudeva is sharing his concerns, and even though he has just recognized that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we see that his parental affection is still there. He's still saying, you need to be careful because Kamsa is coming. So this is the loving parental Vatsalya rasa, the Vatsalya mood of Vasudeva. And Devaki then goes on to offer her prayers, and they're very beautiful. So we'll read some of these prayers from Devaki. Devaki, the mother of Krishna, offered her prayers. She was very frightened because of her brother's atrocities. Devaki said, "My dear Lord, your eternal forms like Narayana, Lord Rama, Ayashirsha, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Baladev, and millions of similar incarnations emanating from Vishnu are described in the Vedic literature as original. You are original because all your forms as incarnations are outside of this material creation. Your form was existing before this cosmic manifestation was created. Your forms are eternal and all-pervading. They are also self-effulgent, changeless, and uncontaminated by the material qualities. Such eternal forms are ever cognizant and full of bliss. They are situated in transcendental goodness and are always engaged in different pastimes. You are not limited to a particular form only. All such transcendental eternal forms are self-sufficient. I can understand that you are the Supreme Lord Vishnu. After many millions of years, when Lord Brahma comes to the end of his life, the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation takes place. At that time, the five elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether, enter into the Mahatattva. The Mahatattva then enters, by the force of time, into the non-manifested total material energy. The total material energy enters into the energetic pradhana, and the pradhana enters into you. Therefore, after the annihilation of the whole cosmic manifestation, you alone remain with your transcendental name, form, qualities, and paraphernalia. Such exalted prayers of Devaki that is deep, deep understanding, because of course she is not an ordinary personality in any way. She underwent great austerities, she and Vasudeva both underwent great austerities in their previous lives and had such a desire to serve Krishna in this way as their child, that Krishna, out of complete love and affection for them, appeared in this way. So we hear in these prayers what an incredibly advanced and transcendental personality Devaki is. So she goes on. She says, "My Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are the director of the unmanifested total energy and the ultimate reservoir of the material nature. My Lord, the whole cosmic manifestation is under the influence of time, beginning from the moment up to the duration of the year. All act under your direction. You are the original director of everything and the reservoir of all potent energies." So she goes on to share that all of the conditioned souls, they're moving from one body to another, but still they don't become free from this cycle of birth and death, this samsara. But then when one of them comes under the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, then they can lie down without any anxiety of being attacked by death. So Devaki makes this statement, and Krishna echoes that in Bhagavad Gita, that one who takes shelter of him, sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma suchaha. One who abandons all varieties of religion, simply surrenders to Krishna. They will be protected from all sinful reactions and they have no reason to fear. So Devaki is expressing this in her own affectionate way to Krishna. So one who enters the kingdom of God, Devaki says, is never again obliged to come to the material world. She then concludes her prayer by saying, "Therefore, my Lord, I request you to save me from the cruel hands of Kamsa, the son of Ugrasena. I am praying to your lordship to please rescue me from this fearful condition, because you are always ready to give protection to your servitors. So Krishna is the protector. Krishna gives shelter to those who serve him. So Devaki's, her sage-like prayers are also accompanied by her motherly worry and protection. Again, she asks Krishna, she says, Krishna, we're worried that Kamsa is going to try to attack you. So please, at this time, maybe you can just, by your potency, because you are the Supreme Lord, maybe you can become invisible for this period of time so that you can be safe. So we see, right, this dual understanding of Vasudeva and Devaki. They understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet they still can't give up these parental, affectionate, protective feelings over Krishna. And of course, this gives great pleasure to the Supreme Lord. So Krishna goes on to speak, and he explains that Devaki and Vasudeva had performed immense austerities in previous lifetimes as Prishni and Sutapa. And this was very pleasing to the Lord, and that's why he agreed to appear. And he selected Prishni and Sutapa. I'm reading from the text now. He selected Prishni and Sutapa to be his mother and father perpetually. And on account of this, neither Prishni nor Sutapa could ask the Lord for liberation. Liberation is not so important as the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Lord could have awarded Prishni and Sutapa immediate liberation, but he preferred to keep them within this material world for his different appearances, as will be explained in the following verses. So the Lord explains his different appearances, that he's been with Devaki and Vasudeva for several millennia. First as Prishni and Sutapa, then as Aditi and Kashyapa, and he appears then to them as Upendra, Vamanadev, and then he appears again as Krishna in this appearance from Devaki and Vasudeva. So Krishna says, I have appeared in this Vishnu form, his four-armed form at first. He says, I have appeared in this Vishnu form just to convince you that I am the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, again taken birth. I could have appeared like just like an ordinary child, but in that way you would not have believed that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken birth in your womb. See the reciprocation of Krishna? He's doing this just to assure them and show them that he favors them and that he loves them and that he agreed to appear in this way. So he appears in this way to show them so that they believe that he is there as the Supreme Personality of Godhead appearing to them as a child. He says, my dear father and mother. So there's nothing unreal. There's nothing unreal about Krishna's parental relationship. It's not just that, oh, as the great Supreme Lord, I have agreed to appear in this way, but also he's calling them my dear father and mother. He feels that affection. Krishna is always personal. He's always a person, and he always engages personally with each of his devotees. So he says, my dear father and mother, you have therefore raised me many times as your child with great affection and love, and I am therefore very much pleased and obliged to you. And I assure you that this time you shall go back home, back to Godhead, on account of your perfection in your mission. Excuse me. I know you are very concerned about me and afraid of Kamsa. Therefore, I order you to take me immediately to Gokula and exchange me for the daughter who has just been born to Yashoda. So this is how Krishna ends up being brought to Gokul, to the home of Nanda and Yashoda, and ultimately where he's raised by them in their community, in their cowherd community in Vrindavan. So Krishna orders Vasudeva to bring him to the home of Nanda and Yashoda. So it says, having spoken thus to his father and mother, the Lord turned himself into an ordinary child in their presence and remained silent. Being ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva prepared to take his son from the delivery room. And exactly at that time, a daughter was born to Nanda and Yashoda. She was Yogamaya, the internal potency of the Lord. By the influence of this internal potency, Yogamaya, all the residents of Kamsa's palace, especially the doorkeepers, were overwhelmed with deep sleep, and all the palace doors opened, although they were barred and shackled with iron chains. The night was very dark, but as soon as Vasudeva took Krishna on his lap and went out, he could see everything just as in the sunlight. So Krishna, of course, is the source of all illumination. He's the source of the light of the sun. He's the source of the cool effulgence of the moon. He is the illuminator of everything. And of course, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's this passage, in the presence of light, there can be no darkness. So similarly, in the presence of Krishna, all of the illusory energy, all of this illusory Maya that was covering this circumstance, it was all lifted in the presence of Krishna and with the influence of his internal potency, Yoga Maya, which is a bewildering potency, but it's not like Mahamaya, which bewilders us and makes us forget Krishna. Yoga Maya bewilders us in such a way that actually our love for Krishna is increased. So this Yoga Maya works very, very directly in the personal pastimes of Krishna. So Yoga Maya is allowing for this escape from the prison of Vasudeva so that he can bring Krishna to the house of Nanda and Yashoda. And it says here, as they stepped outside, even though it was pitch dark outside, Vasudeva could see. And of course, we understand this famous Leela of how Vasudeva crosses the ocean and the ocean parts and makes way. And everything is sheltered, though it's storming outside. Anantashesh is giving shelter, right? So in this way, Krishna's presence is making everything auspicious. And this is all facilitating Krishna's pastimes, his loving exchanges and his beautiful pastimes to enchant the hearts of his devotees, as we said. And how fortunate are we by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers that we get to hear these pastimes again and again. In this way, we get a chance to try to become absorbed, in the beauty of Krishna's pastimes. Just like when you go to a beautiful place, if we don't look, we won't appreciate it. So in the same way, Krishna's pastimes are completely beautiful in every way, transcendentally beautiful. But we have to hear. We have to spend time listening. We have to try our best to be open heart, open mind, so that we can become enchanted by the natural, incredible, unique beauty of these pastimes. So, Mother Yashoda, meanwhile, prior to Krishna's arrival in her home, Mother Yashoda, the text says, understood that a child had been born to her. This is Yogamaya as the daughter. But because she was very tired from the labor of childbirth, she fell fast asleep. When she awoke, she could not remember whether she had given birth to a male or a female child. So although Vasudeva and Devaki, they have this reveal from Krishna. Krishna shows his four-handed form. He actually goes out of his way, you can say. Krishna never goes out of his way. Krishna can do anything. He lifted Govardhan Hill with his left pinky finger. So it's not that he's actually going out of his way, but what I mean to say is that he's making special arrangements to show his divinity to Vasudeva and Devaki. But this Yoga Maya is already set in the home of Nanda and Yashoda, because Krishna ultimately wants to have these loving parental exchanges with no Aishwarya, completely free from awe and reverence. So Mother Yashoda is forgetting whether or not the child she just gave birth to is male or female, because Krishna is about to appear in their home, and he doesn't want them to be offering obeisances and prayers like Vasudeva and Devaki just did. It's a different relationship. Krishna is ready to just receive their pure, unadulterated, deep parental love, because that brings pleasure to his heart. Krishna loves the reciprocation of his devotees. Just like we have the beautiful form of Jagannath. Jagannath, his eyes are wide and his smile is from ear to ear, and his arms are contracting into his body out of pure bliss and joy. And what is this bliss and joy? We hear many stories, but one is that in the holy place of Kurukshetra, prior to the Bhagavad Gita being spoken, this is before, Krishna met with the Brajvasis after leaving to Dwarka, and he goes and he sees the Brajvasis there, and he looks upon all of them and remembers their affectionate exchanges, and he sees the gopis, and he sees ultimately Srimati Radharani. And in response to how much he is loved by those devotees, he becomes ecstatic and smiles, and his eyes widen. And similarly, Baladev and Subhadra, they feel this very special transcendental love. So all of this is to say that Krishna wants the loving exchanges. He wants the reciprocation with his devotees. It's not like he just is doing that for our sake. He also loves that. He knows that we have independence. He knows that we can choose to serve him or not to serve him. He knows that we can choose to forget him. He'll give us the forgetfulness if we want to forget him. But when we choose to remember him, when we choose to serve him, when we choose to love him, this captures his heart. Krishna is fully a person. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. But just like any person, he also wants to have loving exchanges. Of course, on a deep level, on a very deep level. It's not an ordinary exchange in any way that he wants, but he wants exchange. He wants love. And so this is what we can give him. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, right? Offer me a leaf, flower, fruit, or water. If you offer this with love, I will accept it. Krishna has created countless trees. Krishna has created countless fruit. Krishna creates enormous bodies of water all over. He doesn't need these things separately. What he needs, what he wants in his own transcendental way, is the love that we can attach to those things when we offer it to him. So Krishna is always looking for exchange. And so one pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto. So this is coming from the purport. Prabhupada writes, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda were fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness because of affection. When the mind is somehow or other fully absorbed in Krishna, the material part is very soon vanquished, and the spiritual part, attraction to Krishna, becomes manifest. So, as we approach Sri Krishna Janmashtami, in the same way, we want to aspire that our minds can become absorbed in the pastimes of Krishna. Our minds can become absorbed in our affection for Krishna, or at least our minds can become absorbed in the affection that great devotees have for Krishna, like our Srila Prabhupada, like our spiritual masters, like our mentors in spiritual life. We can remember how beautiful their love is, right? We can remember how beautiful and natural their affection and absorption for Krishna is. And that can allow our hearts to open just a little bit more. And Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, he likes to say, he wrote that we shouldn't take a festival just as an ordinary festival. Like, okay, I'm going to the temple. Yes, very nice darshan, nice prasad. Good, we had a good time. Good kirtan was good. And let's go home and go to sleep. Bhakti Tirtha Swami is saying that we should have this intention that every festival that comes, and of course we're so fortunate we have so many festivals, every festival, we should have this intention that my heart should be transformed by this experience, by this sacred day, by this festival, by this sacred sangha and activities and absorption. Let my heart be transformed so that actually it's never the same. After this Janmashtami, we're moving forward. We're continuing in our spiritual path by Krishna's grace. And whatever inspiration, whatever transformation can come in this day, let it remain with us, so that we're continuing by Krishna's grace, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of the great devotees. We're trying to continue walking this path with deepened affection, deepened inspiration, deepened surrender and faith. So as we approach Sri Krishna Janmashtami, may we approach in this mood of wanting very deeply and praying very deeply to be transformed, because surely the mercy is there. Mercy of Krishna, mercy of Srila Prabhupada, mercy of our Guru Parampara. So we pray to be transformed in this way. It's not just another year, another Janmashtami. We want to have this spirit of affection, being absorbed in affection as much as we can, or at least meditating on the affection of those great devotees. So we'll close with one last passage here. We'll read from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyo stina priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So from the purport of this verse, we'll read one passage. Srila Prabhupada writes, the example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here, the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. So Krishna is seeking our absorption. Krishna is seeking our affection. It means something to him. That's like he's saying here in Bhagavad Gita, I'm equal to all, but one who renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So you see the beautiful reciprocation, and as Prabhupada says, it has nothing to do with this world, it has nothing to do with karma, it has nothing to do with this material situation. It's actually completely aligned with the transcendental situation of the spiritual world, which is characterized by Sat Chit Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So as we approach Sri Krishna Janmashtami, we can aspire to, by Krishna's mercy, we pray to get a glimpse of this transcendental reality, which is above and beyond the temporary circumstance of this world. So we're striving to experience that even now in our own small way by the grace of Krishna and his devotees. So thank you all so much. Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we're welcoming everyone's questions, comments, thoughts, reflections. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice class, Prabhuji. Very
Hare
nice.
Krishna. Thank you, Vasanta Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any reflections?
Yeah, like when you were narrating the um, uh, Krishna Leela, Janma Leela, like it was like I was able to visualize life. Like it was very very nice, Prabhuji. I mean, I cannot express that feeling. I don't know, but it's very 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 great feeling,
Thank you.
listening to Lord's pastimes, his leelas and all that. It is a sort of that sort of tingling sensation in your heart. I don't know how to express that.
Mm-hmm. You expressed it beautifully. Thank you, Vasanta Mataji. Yeah, that's very important. And yes, all glories to Srila Prabhupada that he so beautifully writes and narrates and really paints a picture, right? Paints a picture with his word, and allows us to really enter into the mood, he gives us the guidance also of properly understanding and seeing these pastimes. And you're right, it feels great. It feels great to meditate on these pastimes. And when you say the tingling sensation in your heart, that's so nice, because it really, like we were speaking earlier about how these pastimes, they don't just enchant our minds. It's something really that touches us on a very deep level, heart, and ultimately the deepest self, the soul, you know. So
Yeah.
this is yeah, something very special. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your eagerness to hear, and also the effect that it has. Yeah, it's a wonderful feeling. It really reminds us of who we are on a deeper level.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Anyone else? Any
Krishna
thoughts?
Prabhuji.
Satyabhama Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, all good, Shri Prabhupada. Very nicely explained, Prabhuji. Yeah, nectar, like it was going through ears in the heart. And we are welcoming Krishna on Monday. So it's really nice. And I really like, Prabhuji, that you said we always say lotus feet, right? Lotus feet, lotus eye there. So what the Acharya said, because the lotus doesn't get any contamination, even drop of water also, it doesn't get any tinge. And Krishna is staying, residing in our heart, right? And we have so many calamities, right? So many anarthas in our heart, but he doesn't get that. So it's really appropriate, that lotus feet. I really like it. So wonderful, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Haribo, thank you so much for that reflection, Satyabhama Mataji. And yeah, thank you always for your loving invitation to celebrate with everyone. Yeah, we are intending to join, and also what you said about Krishna's this lotus feet, right? Lotus eyes. It's also, you know, yeah, a reminder, as you said, that Krishna is never affected by any material tinge whatsoever, and Krishna's just his beauty is, you know, compared to that of a lotus. And yeah, we by hearing about Krishna, we are also lifted out of this world, right? When we hear about Krishna. So
Yeah. Also, I heard by one Acharya, like seniors or somewhere, like see, sometimes we had to compare, right? Something we had to compare, so they could not find anything. And lotus is like very soft, right, and beautiful, nice fragrance, and it doesn't get any taint. So finally they just decided we can just compare with the lotus. Right? Otherwise it's very difficult, we can't find anything like that, right? So it's really amazing. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
thank you, Mataji. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we understand that the transcendental reality is beyond anything we can compare in this world, right? So we're trying, or like you said, yeah, we may do our best to seek these comparisons in the acharyas in their writing, right? A poet does a Vaishnav. One of the qualities of a Vaishnav is that a Vaishnav is kavi, is a
Hmm.
poetic person.
Yeah.
So our great acharyas and our Srila Prabhupada, they're writing and making these beautiful poetic explanations that can give us a very strong glimpse. But at the
Hmm.
same time, we understand that the beauty of Krishna is beyond any
Everything.
description, beyond any painting. We have so
Right.
many beautiful paintings of Krishna, but it's still acknowledged that if we
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
there, beholding Krishna face to face, he will be even more beautiful than the most beautiful painting that we've seen.
Yeah. Beautiful, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Mona Mataji, I saw you unmuted. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Very wonderful class. Sorry I joined late, but whatever I heard was a pure nectar. So thank you for it. And the best part I liked is about the prayer. Like when we, like on that day, right, as you rightly said, sometimes, like during these festivals, the deities are decorated or they're dressed up so nicely that looking at them, we just get overwhelmed and we forget what to ask for, and we are just like, we just want to see them. But yes, I mean, that feeling, just for the transformation is what is required, right? So I always wanted to learn like how to connect with the deities or Krishna on that day. So thank you so much. It will actually, it brings that oneness and kind of, it helps us understand that, no, this should be an ongoing process and not just it shouldn't be lived for a day. So that enthusiasm and, those things at least should be there in our hearts forever. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for that reflection. And what you mentioned just brought one more thought, which is also that darshan. Of course, there's nothing insignificant about coming before the deities and having that experience of darshan. But I appreciate your point that initially, we may not know, if what prayers to offer or how to express, and that's also okay, because darshan, the meaning of darshan, sometimes we translate that meaning to see, like that we go to see the Lord, but also on a deeper level, it also means to be seen by the Lord. So actually, we come before the deities, we're seeing them, yes, but also they are seeing us, and almost that's the more important consideration. That's like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, the guru of our Srila Prabhupada. When he would stand before the deities, he would remove his eyeglasses. So it's interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
you can think that he wouldn't be able to see the deities quite as well without his eyeglasses. But what he wanted is he wanted the deities to see him more fully. He's removing another obstruction, so that the deities can really fully see him. So that is his wonderful example. So yeah, we strive to remember that when we come before the deities, and to offer, as you said, offer personal prayers and experience that wonderful grace and reciprocation of being able to come before their lordships in their deity form.
Yeah. Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. Always Srila Prabhupada. How are you, Prabhuji?
I'm okay. Thank you. So good to see you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I just had a question, if I can ask. So,
Please.
Definitely we're talking about Janmashtami and Krishna's mercy and Krishna's love and developing, transforming our heart. We see that as we hear. So my question is, while we do that, while we take darshan, we hear the pastimes of the Lord, we develop love for the Lord, and we associate with devotees. How is, and again, this is maybe for my understanding, but how is practicing austerity, like fasting on Krishna's Janmashtami day, helps us to develop that love or closeness? Or I just want to understand that also.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhu. Great question. Great question. So the significance of fasting, the ideal significance of fasting, whether it's for Janmashtami or for Ekadashi or anything like that, is that the intention of that is kind of twofold. So one is that we're doing some austerity, we're doing some tapasya and offering it to Krishna, right? So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita speaks about sacrifice or austerity in the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So austerity in the mode of goodness, it has a particular direction. It's selfless in nature. It's like we're doing it to please the Lord. Austerity in the mode of passion would be like if we want some credit for it, or we want some material benefit, something like that. Oh, okay, I'll do this austerity because maybe I'll become wealthy, or I'll win the lottery or something, or that we want credit for it in some way, that like, people will think that I'm very great if I'm doing this. And then austerity in the mode of ignorance is austerity, which is actually really, really harming you, and maybe for a very negative purpose, like to gain power or something like that. We hear about how, for example, Ravana gained his power by doing a lot of austerity. They say in some tellings of Ramayana that he stood on the tips of his toes for thousands of years or something like that. So that's quite amazing austerity, but the purpose of it is completely negative, right? So we want to do some austerity for the pleasure of Krishna, to basically show, it's another way of showing our intention of wanting to come closer to Krishna, wanting to love him. But then the practical point of the fasting is that also ideally fasting frees us up a little bit. It frees us up so that we're not having to prepare our meals. It's one less thing to kind of dwell upon on that day, so that we can ideally spend a little more time maybe reading, hearing, chanting. And on a practical level, we have to also recognize, of course, that if someone has health issues or anything like that, or if the fasting is harming them, then there are exceptions, to that kind of a practice. But that's the intention of it, that it can give us a little more time and space to focus on spiritual practice for that day. And also it's hopefully can be offered as an austerity in the right spirit, for the pleasure of Krishna, to try to come closer to Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the question, Prabhu. Great to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavad.
Dandavats. So any further questions, reflections, thoughts from any of the devotees? Okay. Oh, so if that's all, then just wanted to thank you all again for your sangha, for coming together, and again to Simheshwar Prabhu and everyone here for the opportunity to come together and spend time in your sangha and to be able to discuss these very special transcendental pastimes of Sri Krishna. So thank you
Thank
all
you,
so
Prabhu,
much.
for your time.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
Thanks
you.
for delivering the nectar. It was really wonderful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
We can conclude
Hare
with
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Patubhesha Kripa Sindhubhaya
Pastitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai.
Jai. Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. Hare Krishna.